Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have life on Mars. This is a legend that's been around for quite some time, especially since the 1970s when the Viking 1 and 2 were launched. This legend basically suggests that there is, or at least was, alien life on Mars, and that NASA knows about it, but they are just keeping the little secret to themselves. Like all space conspiracies, this legend ranges from some pretty out there but still based in reality ideas, all the way to absolutely absurd tinfoil hat vibes. What I mean is that some believe this is true because they claim to see alien fossils in the photos of the surface of Mars that we have. There are others who think that maybe NASA just isn't searching for signs of alien life at all. And then there are those who think that Mars is actually fully inhabited by like half alien, half human creatures and NASA's just hiding that from us. I'll let you decide on this one. In our number 9 spot today we have X-37b. So I guess this one is more like a NASA mystery rather than an urban legend, but basically they sent a space shuttle up, but no one knows exactly what it's for. Throughout the last few years, an X-37b spacecraft has gone on a number of different missions up into the orbit of Earth, but no one is willing to spill the beans on what these missions are aimed at doing. Of course, like with any legend, the theories are abound. Some people believe the purpose of these missions is to test out new technology. Very reasonable, but there are others out there who think that these missions are meant to destroy different satellites, or that this craft is really some kind of space weapon, but only time will tell if all of the secrets of the craft ever get declassified. In our number 8 spot today we have the live stream. This is an urban legend that stems from an ISS live stream a few years ago. Back in 2016, alien enthusiasts and UFO watchers noticed as they watched a live stream that was being broadcast from the ISS two objects that seemed to be entering Earth's atmosphere. These objects were unidentified and they looked like they were tumbling toward Earth, so many people took this image to be UFOs. To only add more fuel to the fire shortly after these objects could be seen, the live stream was cut off abruptly. NASA swears that this was merely just a coincidence, and while that is possible, not everyone is convinced that's the case. In our number 7 spot today we have changes. Okay, other than those who have been to space, who's to say what experiencing something like that would do to just your entire outlook on life, and especially your mental health. I mean, on one hand it's gotta be one of the most incredible experiences, but on the other side it would be terrifying and probably kind of lonely. Spending weeks and sometimes even months in the vast darkness of space, as amazing as it sounds, it likely isn't for the faint of heart. That is exactly why this NASA legend suggests that many of the astronauts who have been to space have returned with changes in their behavior, and apparently NASA has done everything they can to deny this. It is said that there is a psychologist who has worked with many NASA employees who actually went on to criticize the agency for denying that these behavioral changes existed, and she even suggested that they be looked into and researched more because she believes it goes deeper than any of us may even realize. This would include more in-depth screening both before and after the missions. This legend is likely to have developed in 2007 after former astronaut Lisa Nowak was arrested for harming someone, to which she pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. In our number 6 spot today we have the Mystery House. You may or may not have heard about the Mystery House that was seen on the moon in November of last year. This mysterious object was spotted by the Yutu-2 rover, but at the time this rover was at such a distance it needed time to get there to check it out. Months later, when the rover arrived, it was released that it was in fact just a weird shaped rock, but not everyone is convinced, and legend has it this just may be a cover-up for what this Mystery House really is. Of course, people believe that this mysterious object likely has some sort of alien or extraterrestrial origin, despite what researchers are saying. In our number 5 spot today we have space signals. It is no secret that NASA has been tracking and looking into a ton of mysterious radio signals referred to as fast radio bursts that have been detected in space. Some of these signals we have been able to find the source of, but some have been plaguing the minds of scientists everywhere since they were first discovered. Legend has it, however, that NASA knows exactly where these signals are coming from, and of course it's aliens, but they just don't want to tell us. What do you think? Do you think NASA would keep aliens a secret from us, or is this just some space conspiracy sort of stuff? Let us know down below in the comments. In our number 4 spot today we have black holes. Of course, black holes are one of the most terrifying and mysterious parts of space, and while we know they exist, we really don't know much else about them. Of course, people and researchers will try to get a closer glimpse at them and maybe even try and take matters into their own hands and attempt to recreate the conditions of a black hole right here on Earth. The world's largest particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider or LHC, which has been credited with proving the existence of the Higgs boson particle, is part of the source of another space legend, and that has to do with the idea that NASA is creating their own black hole. Some believe this project is intentional, while others just worry about it becoming a reality accidentally. It's true that if this were to happen it would be bad news, but luckily this probably isn't very likely and may not even be possible. In our number 3 spot today we have secrets. Of course, NASA knows a lot more than the average person would when it comes to the likely fate of our planet. I mean, they know a lot more about the planet than the average person, and tell me this, when was the last time you even looked through a telescope? It's just safe to say they are better briefed on all of the cosmic horrors that threaten our planet. We are definitely more well versed with the disasters that we may face here on the planet, but when it comes to threats that sit thousands of light years away, well, we definitely aren't the experts. That is the basis for this theory or legend that should NASA find out that we are facing some sort of humanity-destroying space threat, that they wouldn't even tell us. NASA would likely know about a life-altering asteroid collision long before it happened, but some people think that even if they had the time to warn us, they just wouldn't. And it doesn't even stop at the usual threat like an asteroid. This belief includes things like pieces of space junk, an alien invasion, the sun burning us alive. Really, as wild as you can get, people think NASA would just keep it all a secret. In our number 2 spot today we have preparations. On July 20th, 1969, President Nixon made a call that would rack up some astronomically large long-distance charges when he called the Apollo 11 astronauts who were, at the time, on the moon. He of course wanted to congratulate them on this incredible achievement, but as it turns out, he maybe wasn't all that confident that the mission was going to be successful. His former speechwriter let it slip that there was in fact an emergency broadcast script that had been written should the mission have gone south. The speech was later leaked and it said, quote, "Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace. These brave men, Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin, know that there is no hope for their recovery, but know that there is hope for mankind in their sacrifice." I know everyone's got to have a contingency plan, but if I was one of those astronauts, it would be a little bit chilling to have heard about the words that were prepared in the case that you were just being left out in space forever. In our number 1 spot today we have Stuck. Recently, on a Space Legends myth list, we talked about the Fisher space pen, and today we are talking about how it relates to another NASA legend. Basically, Nixon almost did have to use that speech he had prepared, because following the historic moonwalk, Aldrin and Armstrong discovered that a 1-inch engine arm circuit breaker switch had broken off the instrument panel. This was an integral part of getting the engine to ignite so that they would be able to make it back home, so rightfully so, they were pretty terrified. The broken switch was reported to Mission Control, but by the next morning they still didn't have a solution. Aldrin explained that, quote, "After examining it more closely, I thought that if I could find something in the LM to push into the circuit, it might hold. But since it was electrical, I decided not to put my finger in or use anything that had metal on the end." This is where the legend comes in. People claimed that he used one of the Fisher space pens to help him fix this broken switch, but that isn't entirely true. It wasn't a Fisher pen, but he did use one that had a felt tip. Aldrin said, quote, "I had a felt-tipped pen in the shoulder pocket of my suit that might do the job." He went on to explain, quote, "After moving the countdown procedure up by a couple of hours in case it didn't work, I inserted the pen into the small opening where the circuit breaker switch should have been and pushed it in. Sure enough, the circuit breaker held. We were going to get off the moon after all. To this day, I still have the broken circuit breaker switch and the felt-tipped pen I used to ignite our engines." If this didn't work, it is very likely that these astronauts would have been stuck on the moon. This was indeed a very serious problem that could have gone a much different way. Starting off this list at our number 10 spot we have Magnetic Hill. This is a location in India that has a legend surrounding it that suggests there is a magnetic force that pulls at a speed of around 20 kilometers per hour. I guess rather than a place where gravity doesn't exist, this one is like a place where there is just too much of it. This means that if you were to park your car but put it in neutral, while on most other hills you would most certainly roll down, on this hill your car will simply stay put foot, or maybe even find itself rolling uphill. This doesn't just affect things on the ground, however, it also affects those flying through the sky. It is said that flying over this area is troublesome for planes as well, and that they have to adjust to certain things like their speed in order to try and balance out the oddities of the area. In our number 9 spot today we have the mystery spot. This mysterious location finds its home in Santa Cruz, California, and it was first discovered to be a place of interest in 1939. It is said that while searching this place they felt some sort of different forces at work. The spot is about 150 square feet inside of a circular area, and it is said that the reason for the strange occurrences here is some sort of change in the magnetic field. It is said that at this mystery spot you can see water flowing upwards, balls rolling uphill, and people can lean further over than normal without falling down. There are many theories as to how this spot became what it is, and they range quite a bit. Some people swear it's just all an optical illusion, while others are certain that it's a result of a meteor that fell to Earth long ago and it created some sort of magic circle. In our number 8 spot today we have the reverse waterfall. This mysterious and strange location is another one that comes from India. Here there is a waterfall, but it's got a catch. While we all of course expect to see water cascading down when we think of a waterfall, this strange location instead sees the water moving towards the sky. Some people believe it's because of some anti-gravitational force, others think it's due to heavy air pressure, and I'm not a scientist, so I'll let you decide on this one. While this certainly is quite a strange place, it also definitely delivers when it comes to beauty. I think even if the water flowed down like a normal waterfall, this area would still see a lot of tourists just because of the immense natural beauty. In our number 7 spot today we have the St. Ignace mystery spot. For this spot, let's start off with the story behind it. Legend goes that in the 1950s, some surveyors were exploring through Michigan's Upper Peninsula when one day it was realized that none of their equipment was working as it normally should. They of course began doing some troubleshooting and testing, and it was then discovered that these tools were only acting up in a circle that was about 300 feet in diameter, and thus this mystery spot was now discovered. This spot is now visited very often as it has become quite the attraction for tourists who want to see the place where, quote, gravity does strange things. It is said that at this mystery spot, tall people appear short, and sometimes if a person stays for too long, they might even start to feel a little bit queasy or lightheaded, so visitors beware. In our number 6 spot today we have the Australian Magnetic Hill. Over in Australia, we of course have another magnetic hill. This one is sitting a few hours northeast of Adelaide. As you near the area, you will see a gigantic sculpture of a magnet, and that is definitely how you can tell that you were in the right place. Through some sort of combination of topographic anomalies, this hill has some strange occurrences. Of course, like other magnetic hills, when you park your car in neutral, you expect and assume it will roll backwards, but here the car will, or at least it appears to, roll upwards instead. It is also said that not only does the car seemingly climb, but it also gains speed as it does. At the end of the day, despite what it may seem like, this is mostly just an optical illusion rather than some sort of strange force. In our number 5 spot today we have Cosmo's Mystery Area. This location is another one of those popular tourist attractions due to the unusual things that can be seen here. Apparently the trees bow in weird angles, which is one of the reasons this area was discovered, but it doesn't stop at that. When playing a game of catch, well, things aren't quite as simple as they are in most other places. Here the ball is likely to go off course in ways you wouldn't expect. It is also another one of those places where you can find yourself leaning over a lot further without falling than you normally would be able to. We're talking like the gravity-defying Michael Jackson lean, while everywhere else that is quite the feat, here at the mystery area, it's all just a part of the attraction. In our number 4 spot today we have Spook Hill. This hill is located in Florida, and it is said to be another one of the anomalies where gravity just doesn't seem to work correctly. It is said that the name of this place comes from a time when the indigenous people to the land were being removed by settlers. Here, while those who already knew the land were likely accustomed to the oddities, those who were newly settling and stealing the territory were confused by it. This is because as they were riding horses, they noticed that the horses were having a harder time going downhill than uphill, which of course would be different from the norm. This is what led to the nicknaming of this spot as Spook Hill, and ever since then it has been back baffling people ever since. In our number 3 spot today we have Mount Aragats. This location is only about 30 kilometers away from the border of Turkey, and it has become quite a popular tourist attraction. Cars can go up parts of the mountain without using their engines, rivers are seen flowing against the pull of gravity. It's a strange place, and it's got a legend to match. According to ancient legend, this mountain and Mount Ararat, which is a dormant volcano, are said to have been sisters who were separated after a fight. Currently, the mountains are now even separated politically. This has led to a strong love between the mountains, and in their efforts to reconnect, we experience these strange gravitational phenomena. In our number 2 spot today we have the Inverted Falls. On the island of Suvura, which sits in the southern part of the Faroe Islands, residents experienced a very strange phenomena that they called the Inverted Waterfall. Basically, like the reverse waterfall, people experienced water spraying upwards instead of flowing downwards. According to weather experts, this was a result of a spiral column of air rotating up, sort of like a tornado. The edge of the cliff only helps to create a stronger rotation, which then sees a funnel of wind and water that appears to be rising and spraying upwards. Once we look at the science, of course, this isn't a case of zero gravity, but it certainly is quite a fantastic weather phenomenon. In our number 1 spot today we have the Golden Boulder. This rock, or really boulder, truly does look like it could fall at any second, but here's the thing. It's been sitting there for 2,500 years. On top of the boulder sits a pagoda, and while the boulder itself is said to be a naturally occurring formation, it is sitting on top of a natural rock platform. This is certainly a precarious situation, as on the side of the rock formation there is a vertical drop into the valley below. I mean, it seems like a terrifying situation, and somehow this rock just remains. There is of course a legend that goes hand in hand with this location and how the rock seemingly defies gravity, and that legend suggests that the reason this rock sits in place so well is because it is being held by a strand of the Buddha's hair. This boulder really isn't fixed in place, it just happens to remain there without any support, which really is pretty astounding. It is believed that this boulder can only be moved by the touch of a woman, which is the reason that women aren't allowed to touch the rock.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Wasp 96b. Okay, we have to talk about some James Webb goodness in this list, of course. NASA just released a handful of photos from its $10 billion project. This telescope launched last Christmas and the gifts have finally arrived. And I'm terrified. We are so small in the universe. What is going on? In the cluster of photos, we see a giant exoplanet called Wasp 96. And no, it is not full of wasps. I mean, I hope not, who's to say? But it could hold secrets behind human existence. Wasp 96 is a gas planet half the size of Jupiter, 1,150 years away from us. It orbits its star every 3 to 5 days, so I hope you love New Year's parties, because you're gonna have a lot of them. Thanks to our boy James Webb up there in space, we can now see that there's lots of water surrounding this planet. Clouds and haze, says NASA. That's good. I'm excited for more water to be found in the universe, but I'm also nervous because, more water means more fish and, also up aliens. Number 9, Kepler 1649c. Yeah, it's not all about James Webb today, okay? NASA's Kepler Space Telescope also discovered this one a while back, but while NASA was revisiting old observations in 2018 before, retiring said telescope, they noticed previous computer algorithms misidentified it, and upon second glance, it's indeed an exoplanet. Yep, 300 light years away from Earth. It's a tad larger than our planet, and it receives a good amount of starlight. It receives about 75% of what our own sun gives off. Thing is, Kepler 1649c orbits a red dwarf, meaning solar flare-ups could prevent further life from evolving, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, I don't know. No aliens, please, thanks. Number 8, Ross 128b. I love the names for all these exoplanets. It's just like Jake 21a. You're like, okay. Potentially habitable. So much monster energy. Back in 2017, this exoplanet was discovered by Xavier Bonfils at the Institute of Planetology and Astrophysics of Grenoble. Now this one is 11 light years away from us. It's pretty close. And it only takes 10 days to complete a trip around its M-type star. The star is redder, cooler, and dimmer, so perhaps this planet could one day host life. Or maybe it one day already did. Who's to say? Either way. Don't want it. Don't want any part of these aliens. Number 7, Ice Moon. We're looking billions of years into the past, we're searching cosmic clouds light years away, but what about our own galaxy? What about our own solar system? What about our own moon? Could there one day be life on our moon? Back in 2018, NASA confirmed that there is surface ice on the moon's north and south pole. This was huge. NASA mineralogy mapper instruments picked up ice traces near the darkest and coldest craters of the rock. There are 3 specific signatures that prove that there is 100% water ice on the surface of moon. Yeah, and we're talking about aliens whipping out of our oceans. Like, what's going on here? Something's afoot. Number 6, Levelland flaming thing. Nice, that's a good title. Imagine opening the newspaper back in 1957 and on the front cover you read, "Levelland flaming thing brings world knocking at city's door." That's alarming, that's a pretty crazy one. What does that even mean, right? Back in 1957 in Levelland, Texas, multiple eyewitness reports began to flood in about an egg-shaped object or this circular flash of light, something egg-like, jetting across Levelland skies. I just like saying Levelland, if I'm being honest. I'm trying to say it as many times as I can. I'm probably saying it wrong, it's probably like Leveland, but I'm gonna keep going with Levelland. One witness recalls the object making a loud humming noise as it flew by, which is different than other accounts that we've heard so far for, UFOs. The egg shape keeps coming back in history, right? We've seen this in multiple accounts, but this is an encounter where it's been reported as loud, with a great rush of wind. And on top of that claim, the witness's car radio began to go haywire. It was like, it was like, in case you missed it the first time. The radio thing isn't too crazy. I mean, growing up, my computer speakers would always tell me if a phone call was about to come in. Felt like I was from the future. That was always odd. The Air Force also commented on it, saying that this was just a phenomenon caused by electrical storms. It was a ball of lightning, they say. A ball of lightning back in 1957. Crazy, haven't seen many of those since. Number 5, 2017 UFO. I remember this one because I was really scared, not sure what was happening with the universe. Back in 2017, after the existence of the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program became more well known, a video was then released of an encounter between an FA-18 Super Hornet and some sort of unidentified flying object. A UFO, or a UAP, sorry, we don't say UFOs anymore, now it's a UAP. There weren't a ton of details released about what exactly happened during this encounter because there weren't any details to provide, but the Raytheon Advanced Targeting Forward Locking Infrared, or at FLIR if you're out of breath like me, they were able to capture an extremely fast moving white oval that was around 45 feet long. The oval had no wings and didn't appear to have any kind of exhaust either. They were tracking a UFO at the altitude of 25,000 feet just above the Atlantic Ocean. And then they were shocked because the craft rotated on its side and then just flew away. There was no explanation released with the footage because it truly is unbelievable and no one can figure it out yet. If you have any ideas, sound off below. All these mystery eggs floating in and out of our towns. Number 4, Europa Life. One of Jupiter's moons, called Europa, has a red tinge around it, and in 2001, NASA scientists revealed that it's possible that alien microbes may be responsible for said red tinge. The surface of its moon is mostly icy, but it has been shown that it reflects infrared radiation in a bizarre way. This means that something is binding it together, but researchers haven't been able to come up with the correct combination of elements and compounds to make this data make any sense. Know what I mean? There's some bacteria on Earth that can thrive in extreme conditions, some fish that have never seen light ever and they're glowy somehow. The surface temperature might be too cold for them to survive, but the warmer interior might be where they're all located. Some geological activity on the moon could then push them closer to the surface, where they then flash frozen in place. What a horrible way to go. Number 3, Venus cloud. Back in September 2020, astrobiologists everywhere were excited but also skeptical at some new potential evidence that had been found in the upper clouds of Venus. You probably heard about this, right? Firstly, can we just take a second to really think about how cool of a job it is to be an astrobiologist? To just be like, yep, aliens, let's do it. And then they plan a mission and then take off. Anyways, phosphine is very rare, and usually it's poisonous gas here on Earth that is basically always met with the presence of living organisms, right? So we find this gas, it's bad, but always connects with life. Venus hasn't really been at the top of the list for choices for finding potential life due to its surface temperature, of course, and pressure to the, sulfuric acids in the clouds, and it's horrible and you can never live there ever. But this new evidence could prove to say something otherwise. 2 separate telescopes were able to pick up the signatures of phosphine in a cloud that had a similar temperature and pressure to Earth, and while this isn't concrete evidence of, space beings or bugs or anything like that, it'll at least be a reminder that we should be continuing to look for life or clues around life, you know what I mean? Even in the most unlikely places, like Venus clouds. Maybe it's space bugs also, who knows? That'd be gross. Space moths that live in clouds with phosphine. That would suck. Number 2. Astronaut sightings. We could sit on Earth all day and talk about the potential for said alien life, but who would know more than the people who have actually been to space, right? I mean, who am I? I'm just a guy who makes YouTube videos. Ask the people who have been out there, which are of course astronauts. Ask astronauts. That'd be a cool website. Ask astronauts. It probably is a website, actually. Definitely on the list of the coolest and scariest jobs in the entire world. There haven't been a ton of people who have had the, privilege of experiencing space firsthand, but there are even less of them who have claimed to see something that could potentially prove alien existence. People who have claimed these sorts of things include Edgar Mitchell, Catherine Coleman, and Dr. Brian O'Leary. The very interesting part about many of these claims is that they will also include some sort of government cover-up as well with their claim. So it's always pretty juicy. There was also Buzz Aldrin, who spoke about his Apollo 11 experience, and he detailed the crew seeing something flying alongside them, but at first they believed it was the final stage of a detached rocket. But then Mission Control confirmed that that rocket was actually 6,000 miles away from them at the time, so there was no answers on what said flying object could have been. But they noticed it, as would you in a spaceship looking out of a window. And finally, number 1, moon life. Titan is one of Saturn's many moons. Saturn has 82 moons, so if there's any aliens hiding near Saturn, we're never gonna find them. They have many places to hide. A lot of nooks and crannies to hide behind. A lot of moons to hide behind. That's a lot of moons, and around 10 years ago, NASA's Cassini spacecraft detected water under its massive shell of ice, which is really exciting. Again, like I said with our own moon, even traces of water is amazing, let alone this much. To quote a Cassini team member, the search for water is an important goal in solar system exploration, and now we've spotted another place where it is abundant. NASA has also detected low-frequency radio waves on the icy moon, and it sounds pretty eerie. So we have radio waves and we have water. Sounds like aliens to me, my friends. As far as space mysteries go, anywhere that has water or signs of water, fish. Some sort of alien fish is hiding in there. Look at our own planet. Look at an octopus. An octopus changes colors while it dreams. Alien.